I'm gonna try that again because I forgot their names. Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with a very, very overdue tag. So today I thought I would do the mid-year freakout tag. Now a lot of people have done this already because it is not really mid-year anymore. We've kind of well past the mid-year point, and I was really debating on whether or not I wanted to do this at all. But I thought it was fun, and that, you know, why not? Let's just go ahead and do it. I'm sure you've seen many a video of this already, so let's just get into it and freak out together, shall we? So the first question is the best book you've read so far this year, and as true Kelsey fashion, I couldn't choose one, so I have two. So the first one is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. This is one of the ones that I read for the Owls, I want to say. This follows Jane Grey, who is queen for a whole 9 days before Bloody Mary takes over the throne, and then eventually Elizabeth I. That is a real life person. However, nothing about the story is real. It's basically like fantasy and historical fiction all mashed together. It was just so much fun. Their wit and their writing is hilarious. I absolutely adored every second of this. I was laughing out loud while I was reading this. I started it on audiobook, and then I had to switch over to a real book because I was having way too much fun just reading it, and I needed to physically read what I was listening to. So I definitely gave this one 5 out of 5. It was just so much fun. And the other book that I absolutely adored was Eligible by Curtis Sittenfeld. This is a modern retelling on Pride and Prejudice, and this is probably one of my favorite Pride and Prejudice retellings that I've read. Maybe I like this one so much because the love-to-hate relationship in this book felt more real than I've read in most other retellings, so I just really like this one. It's definitely an adult retelling, so if you plan on reading it, just know there's some scenes in here. It was just so much fun and I loved it. The next question is the best sequel that you read this year, and I think I've only read one, maybe two. But for this question, it is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I don't remember when I read this book, but I did read it relatively soon after I read Six of Crows, and I loved it. It was so great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think I liked the first one more, I think, because there was more character development in that one because you're really getting to know the 6 people, whereas this one you still get to know the 6 people, and the ending was amazing, and I loved a lot about this book, but I do think the first one I liked a little bit more. It's so great. I want to reread these. They were just so much fun, and I understand the hype now, so this is definitely my favorite sequel this year. So the third question is a new release that you haven't read yet, and for this one I am choosing Soul of Stars by Ashley Poston. This is the second to Heart of Iron, which I read last year, and that's kind of a retelling of Anastasia but set in space, and I adored that book. I just loved it so much, and so I couldn't wait to get my hands on this one, and it came out last month, so I'm ready. It was so much fun, and I want to know what happens, and I don't think there's anything beyond this. I think it's just a duology, so I can't wait to see what happens in this book. It was so good! So the fourth question is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and while Soul of Stars technically counted, I wanted to do one that wasn't out yet as of right now, so I am going to be doing The Serpent and Dove for this one. Now this is one that I've been seeing on YouTube and BookTube all over the place, and I can't even tell you what it's about. I don't even, I can't remember off the top of my head. I bet you if I looked it up, that would help. So, from what I can understand, and I don't know a whole lot about this book, it involves witches and a, forced marriage that turns into, a real love, and I really love those types of stories. I just, the fake relationship to real love kind of thing, I just really like those. So, I'm really, really excited about this one. The next question is the biggest disappointment for the year, and for me, that was Mun Mun by Jessie Andrews. This is one that I was looking forward to so much because the worlds just sounded amazing. This just follows a world where, depending on how much money you have, is how big you are. So if you have a lot of money, you're bigger than buildings. But if you don't have a lot of money, you're a little poor and you're the size of a rat. So that to me was really intriguing, and I was really curious to see what that world was like, and I liked the world, but I hated the plot and the story. It didn't make any sense to me. I didn't really understand what was happening, and I think I gave this 3.5 stars, which is not like a super low rating, but I think it was the most disappointing because I had all these super high hopes because the world sounded so cool, and it just wasn't. Like, the world was cool, but the story was just sucked, and I didn't like it at all. So yeah, this is probably my biggest disappointment for the year. The next question is your biggest surprise, and for me that was Eliza and Her Monsters. Now, like back in May, I want to say, my best friend Lauren, who you guys have definitely seen before, we decided to pick each other's TBRs in May. So we picked 5 books for each of us to choose from so that you could branch out and maybe read a favorite of one of the others and that kind of thing. So she gave me 5 books and I ended up reading all of them, and Eliza and Her Monsters was one of them. And I did think that I was going to like it, but I didn't think I was going to like it this much. It was just so cute and so much fun, and I absolutely adored it. While you're reading, you get like some of the drawings in between of like what she's put in her comics, and then she also has a group chat with some of her friends, and so you get kind of like a mixed media format in there, which I didn't know was going to happen, so that was really, really cool. But yeah, I just adored this book. It was so cute and fun and heartfelt. I have so many feelings about it. It was just great. So the next question is your favorite new author or an author that is new to you. So my answer isn't really either of these because I read something by this author last year that I really, really loved, but I've been reading a lot more of their stuff and I'm getting a lot more of their books recently, and so they're kind of turning into an author for me right now, and that sort of like happened this year and not last year, so that's why I'm choosing them for this question, and that is Christina Lauren. I absolutely love their writing. It's so great. I read Autobiography last year and absolutely loved it, and then I read On Honeymooners this year, and I've got Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating as well, and really just anything that their name is on I like go to and I'm intrigued by. So I really, really enjoy their writing. It's so much fun and cute, and I love it so much. So that's why they are this to me, because they're not a new author and they're not new to me, but my love for them is new this year. The next question is your new fictional crush, and while I don't really get crushes in books, I get people that I'm really drawn to and really, really adore, and so for this question I'm going to be choosing Mr. Darcy from Eligible. This is the most cliche answer ever because Mr. Darcy is like everybody's go-to, but for some reason I just loved Mr. Darcy in this version. He was just so believable and great. Like, you could see where the miscommunication was way from the beginning. So I think that's why I liked him so much, and he just cares so much, and he shows that he cares, even in his own weird, quiet way. So that's why I'm choosing Darcy for this one, because he was just so great, and I loved him so much. So the next question is your new favorite character, and for me, that is Kaz from Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I just loved getting to know him and his backstory, and when he actually has, like, is in the moment and is talking with people, I just love him so much. He's so clever and quick-witted, and the banter is great when he's, like, having meetings with people and, like, conning people out of stuff. I just loved him. So that's why he's so great. So the next question is a book that made you cry, and so for this one, it is The Last Time We Said Goodbye by Cynthia Hand. This is one of those books that Lauren had me like read when she picked my TBR, and I mean, all of the books that she chose for me, she chose them because she cried during them, and she knew that I was trying to read, I guess, harder topic books this year, and I definitely cried at most of them, but this one, oh, it was the one that I read first out of those 5 that she gave me, and so that's why I chose it. But it just, like, it was a really good take on grief, I think. It's about suicide, if you don't know. But if you're reading about suicide, you often don't get as much focus on the stigma it puts on the family. And this was just a really, like, good take on that. And she even wrote at the back of the book about that. And I just lost it throughout most of the book. So that's why I'm choosing this one, because it definitely made me cry. On the reverse of that, it is a book that made you happy, and so for this one I chose Red, Right, and Royal Blue by Casey McQueston. I loved this book. It's a rom-com book. Like, you go in knowing what you're going to get at the end. It's about 2 boys who fall in love. What more could you want? It was so cute. I loved every second of it, and I just felt happy the entire time I was reading it. So that's why I'm choosing this, because it's a happy book. The next question is the book that you've bought so far this year that you find the most beautiful. This is one that just keeps like popping up in my head. It is The Antidote by Shelley Sakier. This is just, I'm obsessed with this cover. Anytime someone says something about a pretty cover, this is the book that comes to mind for me. So I just am obsessed with the color scheme of it, and like the font is gorgeous, and the like kind of cartoony illustrated cover a little bit. Like it's not like this kind of illustrated cover, but it does have like more of an illustrated feel. So I just adore it. I know I haven't read it yet, but I need to, because the cover is so pretty, and I need to make sure that the inside is just as pretty. That's the cheesiest thing I've ever said. So the last question is a book that you want to read by the end of the year. And now I have, like I've mentioned a million times, a list of 12 books that I'm trying to read by the end of 2019. And so all of those, obviously, but I didn't want to choose those since I'd already talked about them before. So I'm choosing a different one that I got recently, and that is The Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is like a historical fiction, but also mythology, because it has to do with like Greek gods, like Aphrodite and Athena are in this, but it also takes place in World War I and II, and it's like their impact on mortals. So that just whole idea intrigues me, and it's like a super thick book. It's not quite 500 pages, but it's like this close to 500 pages, but this is definitely one that I want to read by the end of the year. And it just looks super cute, and I keep going back to it. So I'm really, really hoping that I can get to this one relatively quickly. So that's it. Those are all of the questions for this tag. Thank you guys so much for watching it this far. All of my social media links are down below if you'd like to check them out. Make sure you thumb up this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to be part of this awesome growing family we've got going on over here. And I will see you guys in my next video.